Let's get started with our headlining stories. The Prime Minister announced the lifting of certain COVID-19 restrictions, and we've got reactions from the citizens to these new changes, and residents of Maneni are concerned for their pets. Those are our headlining stories. Let's get started with our bulletin. But before we do, a reminder from WaterAid encouraging Yemaswati to continue to try their best to be safe as we all try to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now, His Excellency the Prime Minister announced the lifting of certain COVID-19 restrictions. Yemaswati are encouraged to welcome these restrictions safely and responsibly. Outdoor gatherings and activities will continue on almost similar to how they used to a few years ago, and crossing the border will be of much more convenience to a lot of people in the country. We have a report. The government announced the easing of COVID-19 restrictions in the country. In an address to the press, His Excellency the Prime Minister noted a declining trend in cases over the past 3 months. In areas, the Prime Minister also highlighted fewer deaths, which seem more likely to be attributed to the 70% vaccination rate among older groups, specifically within the age groups of 60 and above.
Entry into ESWATINI now requires either proof of full vaccination for COVID-19 or a PCR test of not more than 72 hours, but not necessarily both. This does not apply to children under the age of 12. It should be noted, however, that negative PCR tests may still be required when one is traveling to or through other countries other than the neighboring South Africa. Wearing of face masks. The wearing of face masks in open space is no longer mandatory in groups of not more than 5 people. Large outdoor gatherings shall continue observing social distancing of at least 1 meter apart and shall continue to wear face masks. That's large group outdoor gatherings. People with flu-like symptoms should not participate in gatherings, whether indoor or outdoor. Indoor gatherings. COVID-19 preventative measures comprising of sanitizing and 1 meter social distancing are mandatory for all indoor gatherings. Participants in attending indoor gathering events are required to wear their face masks. Inside shopping malls and supermarkets and other shops, face masks will be a requirement. Worship services. Churches may now operate at full capacity, provided indoor COVID-19 measures such as wearing of face masks and social distancing of 1 meter are observed. Funeral services and memorial services. In funeral and memorial services, the wearing of face masks and adherence to COVID-19 restrictions is a requirement. Night vigils and kufugama. Kufugama and night vigils are now permitted but must be conducted in strict adherence to COVID-19 restrictions.
His Majesty's government encourages the continual use of masks and the practice of good hygiene. Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mabuza, Rosandile Mpapane, and Kimberly Mavuso, Cabinet. And speaking at the press briefing was the Minister of Health, Dr. Ngozi, who also touched on the subject of vaccine wastage. Now, earlier in the year, the government had to dispose of vaccines due to poor vaccination uptake in the country. The minister says that the government will take a more intensive approach as far as vaccine promotion in order to ensure that this doesn't happen again. The Minister of Health, Ngozi, addressed the expiring and disposal of COVID-19 vaccinations as a result of low vaccination uptake in the country. With the announcement of eased restrictions and a decline in cases and deaths, the minister addressed concerns about the possibility of more wasted vaccines.
Vaccines wathola abe nema-dates lahlukene expiry date. So nangabe kungajova vele kutaba khona lelo dlanzana lelitsite letakweteka ukuthi silidestroy. Kodwa lesikwethembako ukuthi kulala khona kwanyalo sive sitaqhubeka siwathathe siwasebenzise ukuze singabi sengodini lapha atadestroyeka khona. Kuba ingodi vele ngoba lama vaccines anempilo lesithe kwawona. So nayifika kithi tawusho ukuthi ngalelanga lelengozi noma sikuthola umthwalo uvama ukuthi kube nemithwadlwana la ngekhasi lephela ngemalanga lahlukene. So sizame ukusebenzisa lo phela kuqala.
The minister said that the government would work tirelessly to encourage Yemaswati to vaccinate and to spread awareness of the benefits of life after vaccination.
Nje bese sifike ku-70% ndonankulu namuhla ngawumemetela ukuthi nje sekude sekude ama-restrictions sesibuyele ka-level 0 sesibuyele ka-normal. Manje-ke sesengefiki lapho siyadzinga ukuthi sifikele ka-herd immunity lapho singade protect thina.
Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mabuza, Zandile Mpapane, Kimberly Mavuso, Mbabane. Nurture and the United Nations came together to commemorate World AIDS Day in an event that also shed some light on TB as well as COVID-19. Also highlighted at the event were health issues faced by women. Nurture, in partnership with the United Nations, convened at the UN building earlier in order to commemorate World AIDS Day. The commemoration of the event also brought to the forefront TB and COVID-19. There to represent the primary secretary in the Ministry of Health was Dr. Muhle Dlamini, who called all to come together in order to help curb the spread of the colliding pandemics.
Today we join the world in commemorating the World AIDS Day under the theme working together to end AIDS, to end inequalities, AIDS, TB, and COVID-19. And we say, get tested, get vaccinated, adhere to treatment, and end GBV. It is a call to working together in ensuring that the rights of all of us.
Director at Nurture, Kanya Mabuza, expressed pleasure with the meeting, not only because it served as a reminder about the state of HIV in the country, but also because highlighted there was the plight of women as far as issues of gender-based violence and sexual reproductive health.
Because siyayadla ukuthi iqhamuka kuphi iqhamuka ekakhulu enhlasweni nebantfu ikakhulu ebantwini wemuntu wesilisa newesifazane bangayadinza abayiningi letifaka ukuthi bantfu kumbe sebafike esigabeni sekuthi bangahloniphani bafika esigabeni sekuthi kumbe tindzaba temphilo tindzaba tekudla temali.
Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mabuza, Zandile Mpapane, and Kimberly Mavuso, Mbabane. With the amazing and relieving news about the easing of restrictions, our team took to the Ngwenya-Oshik border to find out just how the nation felt about the first step in the return to normal. With the announcement of the easing of restrictions by the Prime Minister, our team took to the Oshik border to find out what travelers had to say about the recent changes. Our team noticed that knowledge wasn't all that known, but Abel Dlamini, as well as other travelers, were excited to hear the news.
Yeah. ngabe kunisite kangakanani lokuthi bohulumende bacekise nje lokuthi
usisite kakhulu usisite kakhulu ngoba besifa njengami nje ngisuke etulu 850
uhamba kangakanani ngena la egedeni
kusho ukuthi ngenzaba yale COVID ngiyenganciphisa uhambo lwami ngeda kabili ngonyaka
nyalo njengoba soto khona kuphuma each and every time ufuna kuphuma so lokuna lesifike sotawutanga okay
yeah siyathanda kwendlulisa amabe kubonga kakhulu kuhulumende ngokusicekisela lokho ikakhulu kade ithine lesizazama ukuthi sebenza abosomabhizinisi abancane kusisithe kakhulu lokho ngoba siphuma cishe ngaso sonke isikhathi siphuma singene so siyathanda kubonga uhulumende ukuthi bafike lesivumelwano sokucekisa singakuthata kakhulu mfowethu ukuthi nangabe ukusana kaJoba bahambe bonke bajove lokhu kuyasida ngoba sekwanda lokuthi ukhona phuma mahhala egedeni uyabona lokho ukuthi vele tikhathi esiphila kithi setijikile setibita lokho singakuthata ukuthi losana kaJoba akahambe naye ajove ukuze ukhona ukuthi impilo ibe malula.
Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mabuza with Kimberly Mavuso, the Ngwenya Border Gate. The BSA institution held an orientation day for their newly enrolled students in what marks the first step of many in their pursuits to actualize their entrepreneurial ambitions. The BSA Training Center held an induction ceremony for their newly accepted students from all 3 branches across the country. During the event, the students were coached on conduct as well as what they could expect ahead of their entrepreneurial training.
Orientation. My students lawa latokala ema-courses awo kulo mnyaka wa 2022. Laqala ngomhla ka-4 April uqhubeka. Ehlukene ke in 2 categories. Kunema-courses a 6 months, kunema-courses a 18 months. Lokusho kwekuthi lawa a 6 months ayaphela ngaSeptember. Bese kuthi ke lawa 18 months atawuqhubeka wona until end of 18 months. So the orientation yekwekuthi sibatshele ngako konke lababhekeke kwekuthi bakwende while basaphesua ema-courses abo la e-BSA Training Center. So namuhla ngibaqhamuka in our branches kaManzini lese ikhona eBosco Skill Center lenye ibranch yethu lesemankayane bonke betile la betela emotshane eBSA headquarters kuze batochazeleka kahle understand umfundi ukuthi yilo kubhekekile kuye asaqhubeka necourse yakhe.
Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mabuza with Kimberly Mavuso. But before we do, a reminder from WaterAid encouraging safety during this period. Now, the PSI and artist Linda Shongwe have partnered up in order to help meet government's 70% mark as far as vaccination. Now, the two have geared up to help stimulate vaccination activity, especially within Christian groups, through vaccination drives across the country. The first of which will kick off in Nhlangano this coming weekend. And this event also serves as your chance to see your favorite gospel artist. Multi-award winning artist Linda Shongwe partnered with the PSI to embark on COVID vaccination drives throughout Eswatini. The objective of the initiative is to sensitize the local church about the COVID vaccine and to call all within the church and the country to exercise their social and health responsibility by taking the decision to get the jab in order to help meet government's 70% vaccination mark. Country Director at the PSI, Dr. Endale Tilahoon, voiced his hope for the vaccination tours to help mobilize the church and communities to enact.
So it's a process that we are following, and we are seeing really positive response from the public. You know, we have reached really much more than the people that have been vaccinated, but the vaccination rate has been also going, you know, very smooth at the events that we have been conducting. So when I say it's a process, there is a process we follow in social and behavior change. Particularly, you know, this is a service uptake and it's relatively new. New to the vaccination, but I think one thing that we need to be emphasizing is importance of like immunizations, and vaccinations are not new to people. So I think, as I said it earlier, you know, we have been supporting our children to take vaccinations, right? Even this is among like 12 years and above. So we are here to be also responsibly supporting all of us to join hands to support vaccination that we used to support during childhood.
So through the events like the one we are here for, the idea is to leverage brands like Linda Dlamini's brand, because we believe that the resonance we are going to get from identifying Kusebenzana Linda is going to help us step into his market, which is largely in the faith sector of the Christian community in Eswatini. So our partnership with Linda has seen us come up with something we call a town-to-town.
Vaccination drives begin on the 2nd of April with the first leg of the tour starting off in Nhlangano. Reporting for Channel Yemaswati News, Abongile Mavuza with Kimberly Mavuso and Zandile Mbabane. Residents of Madonsa are worried for the welfare of their dogs. This as residents have noticed an upsurge in the deaths of their pets. Now the community suspects poisoning and foul play.
The Madonsa residents in Manzini are complaining of their dying dogs. These residents have voiced out that their dogs die and they show signs of have eaten poisonous food. According to Matokoza Dlamini, who is a Madonsa resident, he stated that several residents of Madonsa have found their dogs dead.
Kuphela kwalomnyaka baqale ngetinja badidlisa ngale ngentazi kulabo makhelwane tafa nje kudidida bathi nje ibona iphukhle emagwebo ife namhla kufe akasisi futhi nayo bayidlise lo poison manje sesiyesaba sekwenteke naleti nkukhu tawuthi tiyadlile phindze futhi nebantwana ngoba kunebantwana abancane ngakhanza sekulahleke lokho ke lishipsi phasi soyabutha kanti kunalo poison. So siyaxwayisa kakhulu ukuthi inkosi yami sesibaside noma nalowo muntu ebulala letinja amana sicolele.
Nawubuka Dlamini bobani lebenda lokugangene bahlose ini laba labenda lokubulala tona letinja?
Bugebengu lobu ngoba lo muntu wenta kanjena nje inja liphoyisa bekunene masati kahle nje ukuthi mawufuye nje ekhaya iliphoyisa. Mungabe sebabulala tinja badlisa shevu basho kona ukuthi sebabulala lo mango ngoba batawugqekeza vele kude lotawubika ngoba isuke ibiki nje. Kungaba kuyikhonge nje ekhaya ungumnikati wenja nekuthi nawe kumbe ikugangele le nja msukhubeka bese ubulala le nja hamba ukhulumisane nalo mnikati wale ukuthi nayo nje akakho ingiphoxile njengoba sakhelene la sidutane kakhulu akufani nemithi yakadzeni ukuthi lomnye ulapha umuthi bucala vele kuthi udane ikhungeke nje yakho emini uyathi usikumbe lakhaya abantu bayetha abatothenga le bakuthengako ikhunge nje yakho wathi ukuthi ngisambama yayikhulula.
This report was compiled by Gary Carlos in Manzini.
The community of Khoza have become extremely weary of month-end weekends. This as residents have noticed an upsurge in criminal activity during this time period. The community police within the area say they will be extra vigilant.
The community police at Khoza have stated that they always face a high volume of criminal cases during the weekend of a month end. So this community police, they have voiced out that they will be all out this coming weekend doing patrols. Philip Sitole, who is the head of the community police at Khoza, stated that they will be moving around the area, doing patrols and making sure everything is in order.
Sikubukile konke lokutawendeka sihlala sikugadile ngoba siyati vela ukuthi esikhathini esiningi abantu abaholile banabo lobudlangudlwangu labanye ngilaba bathanda ukuthi bangasebenzi kodwa ke imali bakubanayo ngengane batothathela labaholile konke lokhu sikubukile ngalamanye emehlo ukuthi kungendeki kungaba nje ukuphazama kwese ukuthi umuntu asuke abambekile futhi ke nalesikhathi sasale bugani kuba inkinga ngoba bathi banganatha lebugani bese baba nako lokuthi ngibavusela ubudlami kakhulu ngabe ukuthi sebanathe lobugani siyamangala ukuthi ngathi unathile wena udaba sobani budlami kanjalo kanti akusiko lokukahle lokho sithi abagwebe nani nanto awuthola lidumadlana kupheleni kwalenyanga ngiyathi ukuthi ngiyalisesha Good Friday imoto ayiphatha budlapha le mali udaba senkingane ngalo Good Friday ngoba Good Friday kuba khona imikhosi le iba khona labanye bayahamba bayangaphandle kwelive labanye baya lebukhosini into enjalo nje nicaphele imali yenu imali iholile ningayiphathi budlapha asikugadzile nako lokho ukuthi bangaphazanyiswa ngesikhathini esiningi ngoba phela busika vela na buyathwasa nje nyalo ngifuna baqaphele vele bahamba nje bayagruphanyanyana hayi ukuthi uhamba wedwa na vele abathi akuphazamisa.
This report was compiled by Gary Carlos in Manzini.
The parents of triplets Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would like to thank the nation for extending their most gracious hand in order to assure that the needs of their children are met. Gary Carlos has our story.
Following that, there is a couple that was blessed with triplets from Moneni. These triplets are now a month old. According to the parents, they have stated that the children are in good health. Besides that, they have different behaviors. They further thanked all those that have given them assistance and supported them. Following that, they are both not working.
Abednego ukhala kakhulu. Nawu bathi yamthulisa kakhulu akafuna lokudla. Nawufuna ukufuna ngaleso sikhathi uyadimanda. Lalabanye ke awubangcono bomeshaki. Abakhali kakhulu njenga-Abednego.
Sive nisitile vele.
Sisite kakhulu sive Yemaswati Nkosi yami. Ubathintsile uNkulunkulu. Ngibonga kwekuqala nje ngiyabonga uNkulunkulu kakhulu ngoba tonke itimvo kumele sicale sibonga uNkulunkulu ngoba labantu bathimba nguye uNkulunkulu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu esiveni Yemaswati bese ngathi ukuthi sitawuthathana isibhicenani. Ngathi enye ilanga nangibuya nalaba mfana. Ifethi yami vele yabaphasi kakhulu ngakhala ngale kamerweni. Wetaba bathi ukhalelane make ngangamphemvula but wabona ukuthi ngikhaliswa ukuthi labamfana labangaka ngitabathini but ngalokuthi uNkulunkulu uthinta inhliziyo tebamvu watithinta kakhulu.
Uyisekelo labantwana uvetile ukuthi labantwana uyabona ukuthi banelifutho lelehlukahlukene labanye ke bafute ekhabo babe labanye ke futhi bafuta ke ekhabo make kanti lo babe uphinze waveta ukuthi unesifiso sokuthi achubeke ke alungise yona ke emakethe kulapho ke aphilisa khona
boke bayakhula manje nje bathi inhlangothi letinzathu lona lomunye ufute mine lo munye ufute ekhabo magwakhe lo munye ke zwabe sesofuta mkhulu wakhe but-ke nabo ngikhona mnela kubo but nje-ke kukanjalo nje bayakhula kakhulu bayajabulisa labantwana nabathathu ngingabadi but nje lenkubonile bebancane kakhulu bebongathi nje mfana bemagundvane but nyalo sebakhulile kakhulu mani ngiyabonga kakhulu esiveni seMaswati kusho ukuthi nje mina kethu Nkosi yami la ngemva imakethe yami lena bengathi ngitiphilisa ngayo kusho ukuthi kubese kuthina kuvela labantwana kwabese sekutholakala ke ukuthi sekukhukhuleka ke konke lokwabonsumbulwana vele sekuya kuyibo so manje ke kwabese sekutholakala ukuthi sekuyawa Nkosi yami ngiyafisa lokuphinze ngivuse ngicalele phansi ngilungise ngacela nje esiveni seMaswati Nkosi yami ukuthi labangafisa ukuthi bamane bangiside bangangisida Nkosi yami ngimane ngikhona ukuchubeka ngoba ngeke ukhona kuphekucela toti but lana ngikhona le bengathi ngiphila.
Celiwe Dlamini, who is the mother of the triplet, this is what she had to say. This report was compiled by Gary Carlos in Manzini.
Well, that's all we have for you this bulletin, but before we leave you, let's take a recap of our headlining stories. His Excellency the Prime Minister announced the easing of certain COVID-19 restrictions. We've got reactions from the nation to these restrictions. And residents of Madonsa are worried for the safety of their dogs. That's all we have for you. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, ESWATINI, be safe and keep well.
This weather forecast is proudly brought to you by FSRA.